Welcome in to Trust the Process Live. Am I down? Maybe. Am I out? Maybe. I don't, it's who knows? It feels like a Monday. It doesn't feel like a Tuesday. But there's still hope, I guess. I don't know. I haven't really heard what my man James Jackson has to say yet. So
it's just not good that you're talking from his position. You're saying there's still hope. You're the 1 seed. That's all. That's just where it starts. I'll just give you a little prelude to where it starts.
We'll see. But we're here. We're Trust the Process Live. We moved to Tuesday because we thought we'd be able to give you a nice little recap leading back home to the Wells Fargo Center. But no, we're just here to give you a recap and not a happy recap. All right. So I'm your host, James Hyden, here with my guys, Doc Hawk, Josh Stafford. How are you?
We were just saying this before we hopped on. I was saying, as I've gotten older, I haven't let sports games, really weigh on my mood. And I've just been in a sour mood today. That one last night stung, but I'm okay. We're going to move on from this one, hopefully, and bring it back to the center. How are we doing, Banners?
That's interesting. That feels like a lot of people go the other way. And as they get older, they get a little bit more dependent, a little bit more childish. And
it's the only thing I got left. To be honest.
maybe I'll start as I get older, I'll start going the other way again. Like I'm in a nice happy medium.
Okay, a little roller coaster ride. Yeah, well, my man whose mood is very dependent on sports, YG young gentleman James Jackson. How are you?
I'm probably a lot better than y'all three. I know this is a somber Tuesday for you guys.
I ain't good.
Max is just I know Max is just absolutely eager to hear what I got to say. It's all right.
Yeah, I'm just like to rehash, to reopen all the wounds from last night. It's just I'm not even like mad. I'm just more annoyed. I'm more annoyed that I waited all weekend because they should have been the Sunday game again. The extra day off, and I'm just like annoyed that I waited that extra day for them to blow a 13-point halftime lead. I don't know what just happened, but that's
fair. He'll be back. He'll be back.
We'll get him back.
JJ's doing double duty on the nameplates at the bottom.
There you go.
He's back. And before we get into this main event, I have to tell you, if you want to cathart, if you need some cathartic stuff to listen to, you can find us in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, you can.
Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. Trust Process Live, TTPL Philly. You know how to find us. If you don't, let us know. We'll get you. We're going to jump into the main event here, boys, and sliding scale right now, worry meter, okay? I think you can tell by the tone of my voice. I don't think I need to answer this.
I know where you at. The energy, but
actually, you know what? No, I might surprise you with this.
Let me just say the energy level of y'all three. That's my indication of where the worry meter is.
All-time low.
I've never seen this before.
I'm more frustrated than I am worried. So I guess I do. I guess I do.
You get it off first. First.
I guess I do need to answer this because I'm more frustrated than I am worried because you lost by a possession.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You lost by a possession. The Hawks were, what was it? 36% from the field, 30% from three.
Yeah.
You played like garbage. Like the Sixers played some of the worst basketball they played in a couple of years.
Since game one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we can extend this past the playoffs. Like some of the worst basketball we've seen them play in a very long time. Joel Embiid probably had his worst game as a professional. I would say as a professional.
This was the Raptors game where he scored 0.
Yeah, that's very true. Like this is a close 1B, maybe we can call it a 2 to that game, and you lost by a possession. So let's not call me worried about the series, because there's nobody that actually knows the game of basketball that's going to tell you that the Hawks team is more talented than the Sixers. So I'm not worried. I'm very frustrated because that hero. All right, excuse my French. That hero ball shit is not for the playoffs.
For the birds, he said.
that pissed me the fuck off. And I'm getting
talk to him, Reverend. Talk to him, Reverend.
Because if you're telling me that I hear all of this narrative about Tobias Harris got signed to a max contract because he needs to be our late game guy, he needs to be our closer, and you as the coach don't have the gumption, don't have the balls to look at your 7'2" center who already has a torn meniscus and say, hey, chill out and pass the goddamn ball, because you took three out of 4 possessions. You used not combined. You use a total of 4 seconds each possession after going 0 for 7 in the third quarter. And then you continue that and go 0 for 12 in the second half. You really are going to tell me that Doc Rivers couldn't have looked at him and say, hey, if you keep this up, I'm pulling you? Because what'd you have to lose? It's not like you're gaining anything. Joel Embiid was a 0 on the night.
Zero on the one point in the second half came from the foul line.
That hero ball shit is for the birds. Like that's disgusting. Tobias Harris disappeared. Seth Curry was cold in the second half. If you're really going to tell me that's the thing. Ben Simmons doesn't even factor into this argument because it's the same argument over and over again. We all wanted to see him be more aggressive. He wasn't. So the rest of the team needs to do something. And Joel Embiid going 0 for 12 in the second half, you need to know that, all right, there's at least 3 other guys on the floor, and Ben Simmons wasn't on the floor for the last possession. Shake Milton deserves a little bit of the blame for not taking the open shot.
Hold up, Shake. You got to pull that. No, here's the thing about what Shake did. I completely understand, honoring the play that was drawn up. Clearly, it was going to go to Seth. But you got to see as we're coming up the floor that Seth is running through the trees trying to get open, and it's a struggle. Like everyone in the arena knows where this ball is going. And if you're a Shake who's been playing hot these past couple of games, who's gotten good minutes with literally 10 feet of space, you got to walk into that. He could have even taken a dribble, went inside the 3-point line and taken it if he wanted to. Like you got to. I don't think no one would have blamed Shake if he would have taken that shot. I certainly would have not.
No, me either.
And the thing was, the paint was clear. If you really wanted to do that, you take it to the rack.
Get fouled. Do something,
dude.
Yeah, I don't know if he has time to get all the way to the rack. You're banking on. You're banking on.
You got to pull up though. You got to.
I don't think you can make it all the way, but I get what you're saying. You got to pull that.
Especially with no hot hand.
Who is a shooter? It's not even like you're a 30% stretch 4 or something like that.
Right.
You got your playing time last year, but you went crazy shooting.
Do something. So that's where I'm at. I'm not worried. I'm frustrated. So tell me if I should be worried, or tell me if you are worried. We'll start with you, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, you gave us a nice precursor in your monotone. You're so down, like it's so clear, like it's just. This happened wrong. He's got to do that. It's extremely frustrating, but it's also, I think, extremely worrying for the title. Like, if we're talking, like, championship or bust, right? Like, we're the 1 seed. We've had the finals expectations, at least, making the finals. And I think this team beats the Hawks. Whether it's in 6, whether it's in 7, I don't know. I think they beat the Hawks. But what that game showed me last night was – this team isn't going to win the finals. Like, I don't want to just, say it, but you gotta
be real with yourself. Real with yourself.
Embiid isn't going to get any better. Like, I'm sure he's not, he's not going to go 0 for 12 in the second half ever again for the rest of these playoffs. But that knee and that back, I mean, he's carrying the team. That back can't feel too good. And it's not going to get better. Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons combined for, I believe, 3 shots in the second half. 3 shots. That's $60 million. So that was $20 million per shot in that second half last game. And that is absolutely unacceptable when your big man clearly doesn't have it. And, I'm not mad at Joel Embiid. I'm really not. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm not mad at Joel Embiid. I wish he played better, but he's entitled to have a bad game. I'm upset with Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons and quite frankly, just the rest of the team. I'm worried. I am officially worried. Will they beat the Hawks? I feel really calm. I feel confident. I think it'll be hard. but this is not a finals team anymore. And I don't think, like, JJ, I think you agree. Like, this isn't me trying to be, negative or like trying to be spiteful.
No, you're being real. You're being real.
It's just, man,
you can see it. You can see when a team has it, and a little precursor. What I was gonna say, you could tell that it left the building at some point for the Sixers. In that game yesterday, and they looked deflating. Like you could tell when a team has it. That it didn't look like they had it yesterday.
No, I mean, JJ, how worried are you? Because I think if you don't mind, I'm just going to toss it down the line here because I want to hear what you have to say. I want to know if you think the Hawks are going to, are you saying that, the Hawks are going to win this, or are you kind of
I'm not. Here's the thing. It's a 3-game series now. So when I say it's a coin flip, like it could go either way, it literally could go either way. It's deadlocked after 4 games. But what I will say is it sure does look, it's shaky, baby. Like really shaky. And here's what I noticed, and here's why the worry meter started to go off. Just for me about the Sixers is the Hawks ride momentum so well as a squad. Coming into this Sixers series,
they didn't going into game 2.
And you won game. What are you talking about? You won game.
I'd say in-game momentum with the ebbs and
flows. They came off the New York Knicks series with a lot of momentum. Won game 1. You guys were going to win game 2. You quieted that noise in game 2. Made the adjustments to do so. But what happened was they gained a whole lot of momentum in game yesterday. And when that happened, the Sixers never got momentum back. And it looked like it deflated them. It looked like not only did they check out, but their energy level went severely down. And it looked like they were like, this isn't our game. It's not going to happen. Like the Hawks gained momentum and the Sixers never got it back. And what's worrisome about that is I think the only reason the Hawks do get this series, the only path to them winning this series is riding momentum wins. Is they just have the hot hand. And the Sixers just don't have the energy to combat that. I think because once you take momentum from the Hawks, once you take them out of a hot streak, and it's ball team per ball team, everyone knows that the Sixers have more talent on their roster to be able to do that. But I think the only reason the Hawks get over on the Sixers is with momentum on their side. I think a win like that builds momentum.
Let me flip that around though, because I think you're right. I just the reason I'm so calm is I cannot see the Hawks winning the Wells Fargo Center for the rest of the series. This is where being the 1 seed is everything.
It's vital. But at the same time, and that's why I declined to answer will the Hawks win this series, because I can absolutely see that. But I can absolutely see you guys losing in Atlanta in game 6 too, which means this goes to 7, and this Hawks series was not supposed to go to 7.
Yeah, no, that's why
on paper it's not supposed to go to 7, so that's not a good thing. Yeah, you might get by. It might be on the scrape of your teeth in game 7, but that wasn't supposed to happen that way.
The reason I thought the Sixers really had a chance to make the finals, and I'll say it, I thought they had a really good chance of winning the finals at the start of this playoff run, is because they were going to be playing the Hawks, Knicks, and the Wizards. And you're going to have the Bucks and the Nets beat up on each other, which they are doing, for the record. And now you're just squandering your opportunity. Mm-hmm. The Nets are getting beat up, and your one guy in Embiid getting beat up the way he is so much more detrimental to the Sixers than Kyrie going out for the Nets. You know what I mean? You're totally squandering your opportunity, I think, by going 7 potential games with the Hawks. This is supposed to be a nice, clean, gentleman's sweep, and have a healthy team and take advantage of the Nets while they were down. And now, even if you get out of the series, I just can't see Embiid putting it together for a 7-game series. Because let's face it, you're not going to win a series against the Nets or the Bucks in less than 7. I think it's impossible.
Max, you're really
oddly quiet.
I don't really have much to add on. I'm not worried. I feel like I just think I think I still have the short-term blinders on, that I'm just so annoyed by how this plays out in terms of basically extending this series and needing to go back to Atlanta and all that stuff, because Josh is right. The getting this done in 5 and minimizing travel and maximizing rest would have been huge, especially with Embiid trying to shake off this injury. So I think I am kind of annoyed at that. But the crazy thing is that I'm not worried about the long-term. I'm not worried about this team no longer being a finals worthy team.
Really?
To me, I think that only happens if somebody important gets hurt for the rest of the playoffs, because this team, when they're at full strength, they've shown that they're as good as it comes. And I get that this season was the king of the load management and teams not playing at full strength. But hey, man, they were number one team over a 72-game sample size with their core, with their guys. And I think that as long as they're all healthy, like, yeah, they have games where they drop clunkers, but when they play well, they are definitely good enough to beat whoever comes in front of them. And that's why I'm not ready to write them off for the big picture yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready to write them off.
No one's writing them off. You could be worried without writing them off. But
yeah,
I hear you.
I'm worried. I'm just saying, I guess I haven't really processed how worried I am about other matchups because I'm just mostly annoyed about what's happened in the context of this Hawks one. But I'm not ready to say that they're not a finals contender or they're no longer a finals contender.
And all your points are very valid. But at the end of the day, it's 2-2 after 4 games. Whether it was 3-1 or 4-0, it was not supposed to be tied after 2 games coming back to Philadelphia.
I agree 100%.
If I'm frustrated, annoyed, worried, whatever word you want to use, it's got to invoke some emotion because it's not supposed to happen like that. Whatever emotion it needs to invoke to get it back right, to win these next 2 games, quiet that noise and move on, that's fine. But it can't just be okay being tied 2-2. It can't just be, it's Atlanta. We'll beat them at the end of the day because that's how you got to this moment. That's how you got
effort in the second half because they dominated the first half. That was a solid first half. They were 13. They were cruising back.
But then they were ass in the second half. Like there's 2 halves of the game.
They were so terrible in the second half. Everyone was.
Yeah.
Like they got monstered at halftime or something.
Yeah.
Max, I just wanted to
go. 2 dropping in theaters July whatever.
Now, Max,
LeBron.
The one thing you said though that scares me is what you said about them being healthy. Like to me, like now every single game I'm saying like what Embiid are we gonna get today? Because he's not healthy. The team, like if Embiid's not fully healthy, the team's not fully healthy. And that's why I am worried for the long-term playoff run. Not worried about the Hawks series, but I don't think Embiid you couldn't see the meniscus up until last night, I felt like, or like his health. Now I'm worried every night. Like, which Embiid are we going to get?
Well,
so, go ahead, baby.
Last night was more. I don't think last night was 100% the health. I think you saw the meniscus as much as you did the previous game because let's be honest. The previous game, you saw him land gingerly after an alley-oop dunk where nobody was within 3 feet of him. You know what I mean? You saw the exact same effects of the meniscus as you did in the previous game. Last night was more about the first time in his career, Joel Embiid letting himself be trolled by other people. Like when you saw him openly react to a crowd of fans, my man, you are one person in an arena of 40,000 people. You really think yelling "shut the F up" has any other effect than making you look mentally weak on that given night? That's the first time in his career he has looked mentally soft.
That's a really good point.
Barons, I was trying to thank you. I was trying to word it correctly when I was talking about why you should be worried. And that's what it looked like. Like it looked mentally soft, mentally checked out, taken out of the game. That's what it looked like. Not just Embiid. Everybody on the whole Sixers squad looked that way. It looked like everybody was just out of it. That was, and in the playoffs, like Josh, to your point, a title contending team does not let that happen in the playoffs. You can have bad games, you can lose games, but to check out, to be not in the game at any point in the playoffs is a worrisome thing. Just to call a spade is a worrisome thing.
I'm not going to extrapolate it that far because, like I said, it's the first time he's ever looked that way, and now he's going home. It's not like this was game 3, your first game in Atlanta, and you have another game for it to get worse. You have a game at home where he gets to go back, see his kid, everything like that, gets to get treatment at home, and then reset because all the previous evidence is Joel Embiid. If he does look like that, he's going to fix it. So it's not like you have another game in Atlanta to let that get worse. You go home, reset, and he goes, all right.
No, here comes
last game in Atlanta was tough. I get to reset.
Yeah, here comes a 39-14 game. I just hope he doesn't hurt himself.
Right. So I think and what you said, JJ, I think you're completely correct. It does need to elicit some emotion, but the emotion needs to be frustration and not worry. You know what I mean? Because those are two different. You need to have an emotional reaction, but you can't let it be worry yet, because you have more evidence to the contrary of being worried than you do in immediately being the Negadelphian and just letting circumstances dictate your outlook on a purely basketball scenario. Because if we're being honest, if we're going to look at now, it's at the point, if I'm going to stick to what I can't just be the guy who's finals team or bust. I have to look at the matchups, and I have to play those out. The only team that should really worry you left in the playoffs is the Suns. This team is built to handle the Bucks. They beat the Jazz. Let's be honest, the Jazz are an overachieving 1 seed.
Definitely.
The Clippers are
an underachieving 4 seed.
The Clippers are the Clippers. I don't think I need to say more than that. And the Nets, and I think I forget who made the comparison earlier. I think the Kyrie and the Harden injury add up to an Embiid injury. So they are now on the same playing field, because Kyrie, we know how Kyrie gets injured, and he's not going to come back even close to 100% if he does play these playoffs. And Harden playing on a groin strain is going to re-aggravate a groin strain. That's unfortunately what it is. So now it's the only people that should really scare you are the Suns, and the Suns should scare you. But
they should.
That's a finals appearance, right?
We'll get there when we get there.
So I'm not worried. I'm frustrated.
All right. Hey, you're making me feel a little better, Banners. You really
That's
are.
what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. We got into that worry meter. So turn off the worry meter, fans, and just be frustrated. All right, go blow off some steam, but don't be worried. Is what we're here to tell you. Our second question is a little bit more in the minutia of this. Do you blame someone specifically? And you all know my answer. I've already answered it. Or is this a team loss? So Max, I want to know what you think, because you're sort of on the same page with me. I want to know if me and you are reading the same book.
I think this is a team loss, and I mean, I think it does. You know, it is going to lead back to Doc Rivers, and I do think rightfully so. But I mean, at least partially rightfully so. Maybe not all the way, because, you know, like what happened game 1, like you just can't control everything that happens on the court. I think that as a coach, you maybe need to do a little bit more in terms of forcing the ball into Tobias Harris's hands. I think that's probably my biggest grievance with Doc's performance last night. And I think, you know, if that is changed, then we're not really having this kind of show, because I think that the difference between Embiid having 1 point, all that usage, even if that's, you know, slightly redistributed, and Tobias Harris is good for 4 more points total, the Sixers, you know, obviously butterfly effect, all that good stuff. But, you know, you would think that the Sixers can win that game with 4 more points out of Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid combined in the second half, right? I think we can agree that you know, that would probably, you know, have done the deal. So I think it's a team loss, because everybody was poor. Everybody was poor. Nobody deserves praise for last night. Nobody was exceptional. I don't think anybody should be like, hey, you know, I had some good tape from last night or last night. I just, quite frankly, I'm still just kind of embarrassed as a fan by the lack of effort shown in the second half when there was just no killer instinct shown. And I don't think that's something you can blame on a coach individually. I think that players have to take some responsibility for not smelling blood in the water.
Okay. JJ, team loss or where am I putting the blame? One-man team loss.
A 13-point lead at halftime, and it absolutely just eviscerated when the second half started. And that's not something that one person is responsible for. That's a team collapse. And that's a team collapse because no one picked up the other. When Joel Embiid looked like he couldn't go, Tobias Harris didn't pick him up. When Tobias Harris couldn't do it, Ben Simmons didn't pick him up. When Ben Simmons didn't do it, Seth Curry didn't pick him up. Like there was no one who, to Max said, had the instinct, the killer instinct, the drive, or even just the game last night to say, if y'all can't do it, I'm going to do it. I got us for this game. No one was able to do it. It looked like no one stepped up to do it. But Max, to your point, I lean off Doc Rivers a little bit because I don't have a problem, especially being up as the 1 seed. If you win this, you go up 3-1 with my star player says he can go. And you know Joel Embiid. If Doc is in the huddle saying, we want to run this game through you, can you do it? I don't care what he has at halftime. And he put up 12, 13 points in the first half. So he's probably saying, yeah, keep giving me the ball, Doc. I got it. I'll get us out of this. I'll shoot myself out of this. And I don't have a problem with your giving your superstar, the guy who, if it wasn't for games missed, probably would have been everyone's MVP. I have no problem with a coach giving him the ball in a series that you're winning and saying, I'm going to trust you. Even though I can see you're not 100%, I'm trusting you to give the ball. Now that he's seen it, now that I've given you that chance, I've seen what you've done with that. Now the adjustment going into game 5, 6, and 7 has to account for what I've seen when I gave Joel the ball in that second half on the slightly torn meniscus. But I don't want to put majority of blame on Doc because I don't blame a coach for trusting your star player. Like that's who you're supposed to be able to ride in the playoffs. He told me he can go. I got to be able to trust that. Now that I have evidence, I make my adjustment off of that. But in game, after 12 points in the first half, I don't mind him keep going back to Joel. And to his credit, the last shot was not in Joel's hands. The last shot was not drawn up for Joel. So he didn't put the fate of the game in Joel's hands. He put it in. The only guy who was somewhat making shots. He put
so my rebuttal to that is 1A and 1B, and I'll make it quick.
Go ahead.
You're the coach. You don't let Joel Embiid dictate that.
He didn't, but I don't think he let him dictate it. It's an allowance. It's still an allowance from Doc.
But if he didn't let him dictate that, you're the coach. Which miss?
I think a better word would be influence.
Which miss now takes it out of Joel Embiid's hands? Is it 0 for 8, 0 for 9, 0 for 10, 0 for 11, or 0 for 12?
It's the game. It's the game. My star player has to have confidence in himself. Even if he's 0 for 12. My star player has to have confidence in himself. Even if he's shooting him. Even if he's in a bad shooting slump. I have to be able to trust him. Like
I think you get away with that early in the game, JJ.
Listen. This wasn't the elimination game. If this is in a win or go home situation, I get it. Take the ball out of his hands. But this is your MVP caliber center, and I get that he's in a shooting slump, but I trust him. I trust his ability to get himself out of it. Now that I've seen that he can't, we make the adjustment. And he still didn't leave it all in Joel's hands at the end of the game. He still drew up a play.
I'm just not sure how. I'm not sure how in the same postseason we can rip Doc Rivers for not making adjustments when necessary, and then also say it's not your fault after watching a guy go 0 for 7 for a whole quarter and still say, yeah, the ball is yours.
Right.
That
doesn't. To be fair, our riffs on Doc's adjustments were in series, not in game, because we talked about how he's been up.
JJ was defending Doc Rivers.
Doc can absolutely be stubborn and not taking Danny Green off Trae Young, not taking the ball to Joel Embiid's hands can be seen as stubborn. But I think there's a method to the madness for both of those. Now we've already seen him make the adjustment off the first mistake. Danny Green was on Trae Young game 1. My mistake. Have we ever seen Danny Green on Trae Young since? Not even a sniff of it. So we've already seen the adjustments being made in the series. My only defense of him, and I'm not taking 100% of blame off Doc. I'm just not putting majority on it because the guy he 100%. Trusted was his MVP caliber center.
So but how can you expect
Doc equally splits blame with everybody else in the organization last night?
But how? If you've got a coach and a guy who, whenever he steps on the floor, he demands the ball, how are you gonna place even remotely similar blame on guys like Tobias Harris that gets told, hey, Joe gets the ball, man. Sorry, by your coach and by Joel Embiid himself. I'm not sure how that.
Tobias Harris, you act like Tobias Harris hasn't put up 30 balls, hasn't scored in the second half, hasn't gone on his scoring streaks. Tobias Harris can still get the ball. Tobias Harris also captains a lot of the second units that Joel's not on the floor, where he is the primary scoring option. Tobias can still get his buckets. Just because Embiid has been the primary scoring option all season, and we were calling for Tobias Harris to be an all-star at the All-Star break. So Tobias can get his bucket still, just because the ball isn't goes in.
But can he when he doesn't, like, the ball didn't go his way?
He attempted 3 shots. He could be. You're telling me he can't get the ball more than 3?
Listen,
but he didn't get the ball more than 3.
Look, Doc Rivers, regarding this Doc Rivers point, like, I was all over him game 1, right? Like, I came in here, I did my whole thing. I wish I was apologizing today. I'm not blaming the loss on Doc Rivers. Like, are there things he could have done better? I think so. But you still should have won that game. And I think this was a complete and total team loss. But the 2 guys on the team that I'm singling out are Tobias and Ben, not Doc. I mean, Tobias and Ben are playing the game.
I agree.
They have the ball in their hands. They can shoot it. They can be more aggressive. And I'm not singling out one of them. It's both of them. I don't know why you're so angry at Doc Rivers for letting his MVP caliber, like, I think he should have sat him down a little bit some way in the fourth, say, Joe, grab a breather. Let's see how the offense is working. You clearly don't have it tonight.
What are you talking about?
Your teammates have to see that, though. Like, your teammates have to be like, okay, it's not Joe's night. And they still took 3 shots. Ben Simmons' only shot he took was that putback with 7 seconds left at the end of the game. Like, these guys need to take over. You know, Furkan is heaving up shots. Like, Furkan's trying to make up.
I made the point earlier. You can't take a shot when your quote-unquote MVP big man gets the ball 4 times straight, and 3 out of them, he shoots the ball while using 3 to 4 seconds of the shot clock. How are you going to – like, that's me – that's me sitting here and not interjecting myself in any of these questions and then getting mad at myself for not getting the opportunity. That's like, what? Like, come on. Like, you can't take a shot if you don't get the ball because your guy who's cold shot the ball.
And like, that's, I don't. 12. There were far more than 12 shots taken in that half, and they were only 3 by Simmons and Tobias Harris. Like, that is egregious. Embiid is to blame, but I think he's entitled to have a bad game because he's carried this team on his back.
Nobody's entitled to have a bad game. If we're not entitling Ben Simmons to have a bad game, if we're going to get on him, nobody's entitled to have a bad game.
Ben Simmons didn't put damn near an MVP caliber season together.
Like
for all that Joel's done, entitled may be the wrong word. Is it excusable if he has a bad game? Absolutely.
No. What? Absolutely. How is a bad game in the playoffs excusable? What?
Listen, I would agree with you, but who's good? Like, clearly Tobias and Ben aren't the ones like who were taking the shots. Like, it was Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz who were taking the shots. Like,
Furkan Korkmaz, and this is the only time I'll defend him. I actually thought we were going to win that game when he hit that 3.
I did too.
Furkan actually, he was a liability on defense, but Furkan Korkmaz was the second bright spot in this game, while Seth Curry was the 1A in the first half. Everything else was not great, but Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers lost you this game.
Man, I'm not.
I don't between the main pieces. Joel gets his own piece. Doc gets his own piece. Ben, Tobias, and other are all the same piece. All of them have equal parts of this pie, in my opinion.
And let me say this: I'm eating a little bit of crow on something I said a couple weeks ago. I said I am not scared of going to Atlanta, and I realized something. The home court advantage of Atlanta is not in State Farm Arena. It's 3 days in the ATL for a young team. I don't know what they were up to, but they looked pretty darn fatigued in the second half, fellas. There were some extracurricular activities.
We were also on this show not worried about Bogdan Bogdanović and Kevin Huerter as shooters.
I
never said they were bad shooters.
No. I never quoted you. I never quoted you as saying they were bad shooters. I didn't quote you as saying they were bad shooters. But a boxing one got brought up.
30% from 3 last night. How am I worried about that?
A boxing one got brought up, and I said the Hawks have too good a shooters to leave them that much space. I was told to kick rocks. I was told I was unsure.
He scored 103 points and we lost by 1 possession. How am I supposed to be scared of that?
Embarrassing.
Game 4 is the wrong game to bring that up after, but you know I'm bringing it up after game 1. 100%. We didn't get to have a show right after game 1, so I have to bring it up now. But that's why I'm bringing it up.
And then they got blown out 2 consecutive games and then shot 30% from 3. How am I supposed to be scared of this?
Before Matisse got put on him in game 3, Bogey was getting hot. But you guys have.
So then what's the argument?
The ultimate fire to get put out. that the Hawks have shooters that will make you pay if left open, and that's 100% true.
They do.
When? They did it in game one.
That's all I'm trying. They've done it more than just game one. But
when they got blown out 2 consecutive times and then shot 30% from 3, 36% from the floor.
I want to see if we could pull up Bogdanovich's and Kevin Huerter's shooting splits, just them in a vacuum.
All right, I'll check it out.
Let me see what's happening.
Check it out.
So I mean, Bogdan went 9 for 24 just last night. I don't think I need to go any deeper than that.
No,
By a Harris stat line.
And for the whole series.
Let's see. Let's check this out because now I'm invested.
Yeah, me too.
Go ahead.
Bogdan went 9 for 24 last night. He went 7 for 13 in the game where they got blown out by 16.
Don't say 7 for 13 like that's not a really efficient shooting.
No, it is.
Okay,
but they got blown out by 16.
I'm not worried about the end score. I'm worried about just them right now. This is just a fueling argument.
And then he went 6 for 16 the game before, where they also got blown out by 16.
Not horrendous. Like I said,
I never said they were bad shooters. Do they worry me? No.
What's obviously on your worry meter?
My worry meter's turned off.
We can agree to disagree right there. We might have to agree to disagree right there. That might be the line in the sand.
I'm
JJ. Bogey already hit the big shot in game one. Don't let him hit another big shot in this series. Don't let him do it.
Don't do this.
All I'm going to say is, JJ, the volume might be different. But I give you a couple months, you might be able to hit 30% from 3, given all those shots that they took last night. Okay?
I actually think that I hope that in all my runs I shoot more than 30% from 3 because
I know JJ.
They scored 103 points on 101 shot attempts. That's not good.
That's terrible.
What's even worse is the fact that the Sixers lost. That's what I mean.
How am I supposed to be worried by that?
Because you lost. There you go. Because you lost. It's worrying.
But that gives me that vindicates. That's 103 points on 101 shots. I'm
talking about 2 people, and you're bringing in the entire team stats, though.
Because I already made my case as not being worried on a team that shoots 30% from 3 after getting blown out 2 games in a row. I'm not worried. I'm not. My gosh.
Go ahead, leave Bogey open then.
Way off the rails.
All right. Oh boy, I know this one was coming, Josh. Here we go. The argument that doesn't need to be had, but for some reason is always had. Ben Simmons sitting in crunch time. What does that mean for this franchise long term? And I want to get this out of the way. If I had the GIF, if I had more time to clip it out beforehand, I would have clipped it out. If Markelle Fultz can go from this before a free throw to shooting, what was it? He's shooting 78% from the line, and I think like 73%. No, like 63% overall. If Markelle Fultz can do that, Ben Simmons can do it. I rest my case.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. You're right. I mean, this is the argument that never ends that I don't want to have. And I honestly thought in the middle of the season, I was okay with Ben and I accepted it. And I got up here and said he does not have to do more because I made an assumption. And fellas, we know what they say about assuming. Make an ass out of you and me.
And me. And
the assumption I made was Embiid was good for 30 points, at least just about every game in the playoffs, more or less 30, and, at a good volume. We saw what happens when he's not good for about 30 or 35 points. So the fact that Ben Simmons is, first of all, the second worst free throw percentage of any player in the history of the NBA playoffs as a point guard, has to sit when the game is on the line, and then takes one shot, a putback, with 7 seconds left in the entire second half. I'm done. I am done with Ben Simmons. I'm tired of treasuring him because I was okay with his defense and Brandon after coming on. We're hyping up his screens and all that stuff. This guy is not an NBA point guard. Ben Simmons has 2 options. either become a power forward who can bring the ball up and distribute, or get out of Philadelphia. Because I can't do this anymore, and I'm
Jesus.
tired of
Whatever.
Holy
I'm
shit,
tired of
Josh.
having this
I'm not even done
conversation.
with this.
Your second best player on your team does not take one shot. Like, he does not have that killer instinct. You know, it's Batman and Robin, and if Batman's wounded, Robin needs to get into action. And Robin just is scared of getting – Robin likes coming down the court, flipping the ball, and standing in the corner, and I'm done with it. I love his defense. I love his passing. I do treasure it, but it's inexcusable. One shot in game 4 when your number one guy doesn't have it. What I think in the long term, I just said it. Power forward or get out. I'm over it.
I mean, if we're going to do the Batman analogy, I mean, Ben Simmons obviously is Alfred because he's not much of a threat physically in terms of offense. And I mean, he's a point guard. He's an assist man. He's your butler.
His IQ is off the charts, though.
The Robin to Ben Simmons because Tobias Harris is the Robin on this team, not Ben.
I got a bone to pick with Toby too.
And that goes back to what I said. That's why I was pissed at Doc Rivers. You need to put the ball in Tobias Harris's hands. We know that he has a tendency to maybe I don't want to say go invisible, but he's a guy who's admitted that, hey, maybe I'm not as aggressive going to get the ball and finding a shot for myself as I should be. And I think as a coach, you got to know when that's happening. And last night was to me was the prime example of that not being identified and not being rectified, in the context of the game that's going on. I'll say this about Simmons. Definitely not Simmons out. Please, let's make that known that as a majority vote, we oppose that. The other three of us.
I'm just so.
And I will say this: it is a matter of learn how to hit free throws. You don't ever need to be the offensive threat that we all hoped you could become, but if you are not hitting free throws, it is the correct coaching decision to not leave you on the floor when you're chasing a lead with that amount of time left, because you are a deficiency on the offensive end when it comes to chasing points in a late game situation. So I'll say this: I almost have to give Doc Rivers credit for having the balls, honestly, to do that, because it's not an easy decision to make, is to take that guy off the court, because he is one of your best players. But I think that we're gonna see this again. We've said this before, that when you're chasing a 2-possession game with under 15 seconds to go, it doesn't matter if you're a good defender or a good 6'10" point guard that can run really fast and dribble well and pass the ball, because nobody needs to respect that when there's 15 seconds to go. You can dribble all over the place that you want. You got to be able to just either pull it or get out of the way. There's really only 2 options in a situation like last night. So it does suck to say, because he is one of the best players. He is unequivocally the 3rd best player overall, all facets of the game considered. Where would you rank them among their NBA peers? At worst, he's the 3rd best player on that team. So it is frustrating. It is the ever ongoing conundrum of Ben Simmons, and a debate that is obviously not going anywhere anytime soon, and will probably haunt our children and their children and their children after that. So long may the debate reign. What should we do with Ben Simmons?
JJ, where you at?
Well, I mean, it's funny. Life comes at you fast, don't it, Doc Rivers? I mean, was it not, a week ago, it may be even inside a week, he's talking to us media talking heads who don't know anything about basketball and saying, what do you want me to do? Sit him at the end of the game? I can act like I don't know basketball and sit him at the end of the game. And then what happens not 2-3 games later, you're finding yourself having to sit him at the end of the game, because if the Hawks foul him, 1 out of 2 at the line isn't doing it in a comeback. Now, one of 2 at the line does it when you're trying to protect the lead. And they found themselves in a different scenario last night, where the Hawks were fouling them to prevent the Sixers from closing a 3-4 point gap coming down the stretch. And so then Doc Rivers took him out, because the ball can't. He's your best distributor. You're gonna want the ball in his hands, and he can't if they foul him. So he has to put him on the bench at the end of the game. But to me, I'm talking from the standpoint that Ben Simmons is staying. That's just what I'm going to assume for this argument. You have 2 options. You have 2 options. Either, Max, what you said happens, he gets better at free throws, or what happens last night, or he finds himself on the bench at the end of the games, and the Sixers have to figure out who's going to be a distributor, who's going to be your point guard. Those are legit. Or your third option is to leave him in, he gets fouled, and he clanks free throws. Like there are three clear paths right here if you're going to keep Ben Simmons, and that's literally all that it is. It's pick one of them, and it looks like the one that's being picked is he's going to have to be taken out at the end of closed games to prevent.
You just can't, like, you can't be the second. You can't. I just don't think you can be the second best player on a team, and when your number one isn't working, you literally take one shot and it's a putback, like out of desperation. It's just like he's not hungry. Like he doesn't want it. Like he doesn't want to rise to the occasion. That was the perfect opportunity for him to be like, oh, look at me, I can do this. And he shrunk. And look, Tobias, he's obviously not forgiven either, but Tobias put up 20, which I still want more from him. But it's just, you're supposed to be that guy, Ben, and we know you're not that guy. We know you're not going to shoot threes.
Yeah, but to his defense, the entire team shrunk. Like, yes.
Yeah, but the entire team isn't an all-star.
That's a true point. That's a true point. That's a very good point. But I don't think he played outside the demeanor of the team, which is bad. That you kind of hope or expect an all-star to be able to play outside of the demeanor of the team. But Ben played within the demeanor of the team. It just happened your whole team aura was down yesterday. I think he just played inside of that.
Ben just like he wants to be that dude, you know. He has this like appearance, taking pictures with LeBron and like being all cool, and like he's just not that dude. And I'm over.
He's 24. So I'll say this. Let me preface this by saying I obviously want more out of Ben Simmons. I obviously think he should be more. But I'll tell you what, I wish Joel Embiid had some of Ben Simmons' self-awareness yesterday, because I'll tell you what, Ben Simmons knows he doesn't want to go to the line.
Yeah.
At least this playoffs. Ben Simmons knows he doesn't. I wish Joel Embiid knew he was playing like garbage yesterday, at least in that second half.
Nah, Ben,
he knew to outlet the ball.
My next point was I don't think Ben Simmons was protesting too much for being taken out of the game either. There's a look on this man's face every time he gets fouled and has to go to the line. This dreadful look of I know one of these is not going in. One of them may go in, but I know for certain one of these is not going in.
I'm not saying what I'm saying is a good thing. All I'm saying is I wish the rest of the team had as much self-awareness as Ben Simmons did yesterday, because if Tobias Harris did, he would have demanded the ball more. If Joel Embiid did, he would have shared the ball more. If Shake Milton did, he would have shot that last second shot.
And you know what's crazy about everything? All of this is a moot point, possibly, if Shake just pulls it. Because I trust Shake enough to pull a wide open shot and make it. So all I needed him was to pull.
He was getting Ben Simmons treatment.
This would be a lot of this would be forgiven if Shake pulls it. You're up 3-1 coming back to Philly.
I mean, the Sixers they need like a Jordan Clarkson. Like they just need a guy who
unconsciously shooting.
Yeah, and like obviously like it's on me a little bit. Like I'm not expecting Ben to be a Jordan Clarkson, but it's just when your number one guy's in there, you need someone to score. And we know that's not Ben, but I was just saying like more than one shot, man. More than one shot.
I think as a whole, the basketball community didn't realize how big the Danny Green injury was at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
Am I?
No. I think you're exactly correct, because it took 48 minutes and 9 seconds for us to even talk about it. And it clearly was something that was missing, was just extra shooting, an extra body, an extra something.
Spacing. Spacing was terrible yesterday.
Well, Banners, I was just about to say, not that the shot goes in, but that was a double clutch, like an impossible shot. If you got Danny Green on the floor, I think that makes your last shot, like you have a much better chance. Like I'm not saying it goes in, but
the Hawks looked around and they said they need 3.
There's one guy.
There's one person on the floor that this is going to.
And Tobias Harris was locked in the corner. If we're talking about a bad offense,
you know where he's gonna be. The Hawks knew we knew where he was gonna be. Tobias is gonna be in that corner,
right? But like, how is that a good offensive set where Toby is locked and not moving?
There was no hot hand. There was no one hitting shots. There was no life. Doc just was like, Seth is the best shooter on the team. That's what we got to go to.
That also goes back to like Doc using the last timeout with 16 seconds. I thought they should have ran a play down 1 and seen how it went, and then called the timeout after that. I mean, look, hindsight's 2020, but if there's something I blame Doc for, it might have been that timeout late in the game.
It wasn't the best used timeout. Yeah, interesting. That turned into a good question. That turned into a good
believe it
question.
or not. Believe it or not.
It wasn't the overall Ben Simmons debate, which I appreciate. Even though Josh wanted to take it there at least a little bit.
Because I'm tired of the Ben Simmons debate, but I did need to, I needed to do it.
All right.
The Ben Simmons debate with nuance.
Yeah, exactly.
2.0.
We talk about the minutia here. Well, the minutia for us includes our guys over at PHL Sports Nation. They've sent us some great guests like Mr. Joliker. I'm going to keep getting that name right. And Brandon Apter, as you've seen in recent shows. Check out our friends over at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Again, big shout out to our guys over there. Our second half, boys, it's going to be a word on the streets. You know how it goes. I'm going to give you a sentence, phrase, and or keyword, and you're going to fill it in when I say blank. Our first one, the offense needs to run through blank, Josh.
Well, the offense needs to run through blank when Embiid isn't, when Embiid's not doing his thing. It's Tobias Harris. It's Tobias Harris, and I can't say it enough. I mean, we were alluding to this all show pretty much, but it's just you need to get that guy the ball more. Now, Banners, you blame Doc for it, and I blame Toby himself, and I guess, he says, yeah, I mean, we meet in the middle because we weren't in the huddles. We weren't actually there and didn't know what they were being told, but I did get on Ben Simmons just now, but I think – it's because he's the number one pick. I've loved him and I've just wanted him to be more for so long. But it is a big on Tobias Harris getting his max deal. JJ, you were calling for him to be an all-star, and I pushed back, but he's close. He's at least close. And he's probably their most talented offensive player. And the fact that he scored 4 points in the second half, ridiculous. It's unheard of. Maybe Seth Curry, but you can't, he's not his brother. So it's Toby.
JJ, the offense needs to run through blank.
The offense needs to run through no one in particular, but it needs to run through your perimeter players. So that includes both of those two guys on the screen right here, Seth Curry and Tobias Harris, with a little bit of Shake Milton, with a little bit of Furkan, with a little bit of Tyrese. You know why? That spaces the floor. That opens the floor up and takes a little bit of pressure off of Mr. Embiid down there, who's playing with a little torn meniscus, and most of the time is the only person down there. That takes a little bit off of him when the floor is spaced like that. Creates more one-on-one matchups, allows people to move freely, allows Ben Simmons a little bit more space to probe whenever he feels like it, whenever he wants to, allows him to probe and do his thing inside the lane. So I think now that we can, if we're Doc Rivers, we have that sample size of game 4. We saw that Embiid's not able to shoulder loads like he was early in the series or in the playoffs now with that knee. The adjustment now needs to come. If I don't force it to Toby in particular, we're now going to go outside in instead of inside out like the Sixers have traditionally run for a little bit, at least until my guy gets healthy. And if he doesn't, that's how we're going to run for the rest of those playoffs. But I say he needs to run through the perimeter.
I like that. He's 7'2". That meniscus is anything but little.
That's true.
Max, the offense needs to run through blank.
I think it's Tobias Harris. I mean, I've been a broken record this whole episode saying that he is the guy who is the number 2 on offense. He is the only person who has a clear cut. I mean, maybe it's Seth Curry as well at this point, but besides Embiid, Tobias Harris coming into these playoffs was the only person with a clear set offensive identity, and that's to be the number 2 guy. And when Embiid is out or he's playing with the bench units, he's the man. He's the one handling the ball in the pick and rolls, and he's getting to his spots, and he has the freedom to do so. I think we need that Tobias Harris to be present, not only in this series, but in any playoff game moving forward. The games that we have lost are the games where he has disappeared for a quarter or a half. And we all know that Embiid is the true engine of this team. But, if you're accounting for Embiid to put up 35 and 15 every night, I would like to just as solidly be able to count on Tobias Harris to put up 25 and 7 and 5 every night or something like that.
This is going to piss Josh off.
Uh-oh. The
offense needs to run through Ben Simmons.
As the facilitator, that's not a wrong answer at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
so you saw it in game 3. There was a little bit of a back and forth out at the top of the key. Ben Simmons passed the ball to Joel and gave him one of those looks that was like, "Hey, big man, you going down?" And Joel passed the ball back and said, No, you're going down. That's what needs to happen. You need to have people force him to get going. And by get going, it doesn't mean be aggressive to the hoop, because I can't ask that every time. But what you know you're going to get from Ben Simmons is playmaking. What you know you're going to get from Joel Embiid now that he is hurt and is showing the effects of that is bad passes out of double teams. So if you have Tobias Harris who's going to be passive and not demand the ball, you have Joel Embiid is going to give you consistently turnovers out of double teams, and Seth Curry, who needs the ball put into his hands as well, needs to run through Ben Simmons.
I want to see more Trae Young in Ben Simmons' game, in the sense, not the shooting, of course, that's just not happening. In the sense where, how many times do we see Trae Young just draw in defenders and find the open man in the corner? I just feel like Ben's got away from that a little bit last game. I saw a little too much flipping the ball off and less like I'm not asking, like, you don't have to dunk it or go to the rim every time, but draw the defense in and then pass it out. Trae Young,
it's tougher to do in the half court when they're already sitting down there.
Trey's got that killer floater though.
The reason why Trae can do that is because he starts 35 feet from the basket, and you have to go out there and guard him. And he's a shifty, slippery guard, so he gets around you and gets into the lane. Ben Simmons can start 35 feet away. That's fine. No one is going more than 10 feet away from the basket to guard Ben Simmons. So it's hard to get in the lane and probe and facilitate when they're already sitting down there.
Man, if there was only something he could do that made that better. Oh, well.
Well, Josh, you're going to get to answer this question. I would trade Ben Simmons for blank. Josh, get it out of the way because I'm not answering this.
He really it's funny, Josh, before you answer, it's funny that earlier you said that we escaped the Ben Simmons argument, and I purposely didn't warn you because I knew this was on the script for later, and I was like, man, he's going to hit the second half. Like, that's going to come up and bite him in the second half. Hey, here we are.
I'm not answering this shit. Josh, get it out of the way.
I mean, can I say Damian Lillard? Because I know they wouldn't do
it. Sure. Say what you want, man. Sure.
Go ahead.
Like, why don't we just trade? Like, would you guys really rather have Ben Simmons than Damian Lillard?
What?
Like, okay. Like, all right. Like, I don't get, like.
You'd rather have Ben Simmons than Damian Lillard?
No, I'm saying, like, would you guys really rather have Simmons than Lillard?
Like, no. Not for a heartbeat. I thought you were saying you'd rather have Ben Simmons over Damian Lillard.
No, absolutely not. You guys know me. Like, I'm just like throwing the picks in Simmons, and let's get Lillard and let's win a championship. We've talked about the window before. Like, let's do it. Like, I'm done. I'm not waiting anymore.
You'll forgive me.
I'm encouraging it because the hanging on to Ben Simmons is something I just don't agree with. If there's someone out there, like I was saying, put him in a package for James Harden. Like,
I was too. I mean,
you'll forgive me if I don't listen to the guy that told me Domantas Sabonis was better than Ben Simmons.
No, that was you.
I'm starting to agree with it a little more after last night. Sabonis would have taken shots.
You're done. You're getting put on mute. Josh is now on mute. JJ, I would trade Ben for blank.
I'm also not answering this question because and if my guy Jut is watching this, sometimes he tunes in. This is at you and my friend Chuck, because I'm sick and tired of the hanging on to Ben Simmons. And every time I've proposed the put him in a trade package for X, put him in a trade package for Y, there are a sliver of Sixers fans, and I kind of feel like you and Banners and Max might fall into this category of, no, I'm not trading Ben Simmons. He does too much other than scoring to trade him. You're still there. So I'm not answering this question because every time I've proposed it in the past, I get scoffed at, I get gawked at. So I'm not answering it now that it's got. Now after shit has hit the fan, I'm not answering it now. I'm with you, Josh, but I got to take a stand. Like, I'm with you on the trading. I gotta take a stand because I've been on the block saying this, that I think Ben Simmons we've seen his ceiling offensively. It don't get much different than this. So either accept it and build a team around him to make up for that, or you got to put him in a trade package to get someone who you can rely on more offensively. Because
Max,
that's fine.
I would trade Ben Simmons for a couple of players who will never be willingly traded by their teams anyway, so it feels almost pointless to name them.
The only answer to this question.
Exactly.
James Harden was about to be traded by his team.
I still wouldn't trade him for James Harden. It'd be.
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of cool with the fact that they didn't trade him for James Harden because James Harden.
Right now that he's hurt. But I mean
that's always been the concern.
I'm just gonna. So,
I'm gonna officially stamp this question as bad radio, where we all copped out of actually giving an answer.
It's the answer is Steph or LeBron.
It's not LeBron.
No, that's
I would
not
trade Ben
true.
Simmons for Steph Curry. That is true.
That's not true. Those are not the only two players. You traded for you wouldn't get rid of Ben Simmons for Damian Lillard.
No. What is this?
Not the only two players. They're not the only two players. I'm just saying those are two of the players.
Whatever. I'm not gonna. It's Steph or LeBron. That's it. That's what it is.
All right. Damian Lillard is second in the league in scoring.
That's okay. Scoring.
This
team disappears from the second team.
And that doesn't happen with Damian Lillard, and you still have two All NBA caliber defenders on your squad. So it's not like it's not like defense takes a huge step down. You still got.
They're not the second team. They're not the second rated defensive team in the league.
You might not be, but you might be the first offensively rated team.
Sir. You have a lot more scoring.
You might not, but you don't go farther than 56.
Josh will go back over
you still got two second team All NBA defenders.
Oh, whatever. One that doesn't get more than 13 minutes. But
look, man.
Last word on the street here, boys. Joel Embiid will sit in blank games in these playoffs. Max, I'm coming to you first with this one.
Well, counting game 5, which I think that he will not play in, I will say 3 total. I will say you get 1 missed game per series.
Wait, did you say he's not playing in game 5?
I don't think he will. That's a personal prediction. That's not a
at home.
That's when you do it.
That's why. Yeah, that's why everyone got the momentum with everybody else.
No way, man. Because I don't know. I don't think this team's good enough, or at least I don't think you're confident enough in this.
I think this is another tough question to answer because. Like if he can go, you're at the point now in the playoffs where if you can go, you're gonna go.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is if Embiid is sitting, he can physically not play, and if he can physically not play, you might not see him again once he sits down.
So wait, Max, real quick, you said you weren't worried earlier, and you also think Embiid's gonna sit game 5.
Wow, this man.
Two things can coexist.
I want your confidence, man. I want your confidence.
Can win this series without Joel Embiid. If he were to not play the rest of it, I think it would be much harder. I think that they're capable of doing it, and I think that if you wanted to kind of, I'm not sure the best way to phrase this, but if you don't want to go all in on Game 5, you give him Game 5 off. You have the extra day before you play Game 6 because of travel, and then you play him Game 6 and Game 7, and he plays both games.
See, I disagree. If you were going to sit him,
you can't throw a decisive game 5 up and say, "Hey."
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they would necessarily lose a game 5 without him at home, is what I'm saying. So I think that they've shown the tendency to rest him on coin flips, especially when they're at home. And I think that kind of is going to end up being what happened. And I think that they certainly can win a game 5 at home without him. Game 6 on the road, I don't think is doable. But I think a game 5 at home. I think especially when you have guys who I mean, I don't want to just like single out like Furkan or make this like a Furkan point, but like someone like that where he's confident, you can kind of get away with you can't really replace Embiid, but if you're so set on giving him a rest or giving him an extra game to heal up under the assumption that worst case scenario you lose and he's available for game 6 and 7, which you feel confident in, your full strength roster. I think game 5 is the only time you can get away with giving him that time off. I don't think you
don't have him travel.
I don't think you can put yourself in any kind of position to go back down 3-2 going back to Atlanta. I just can't think.
Yeah,
I think you do. You got to go all in for game 5.
Yeah,
and if he hurts himself in game 5, if anything, you rest him in Atlanta, knowing that I got game 7 at home.
You just don't have him travel with the team.
Yeah, that's when you rest them. But you go all in for game 5. You need game 5. You go back down 3-2 Atlanta, it gets real shaky.
So JJ, Embiid will miss blank games in these playoffs.
I kind of like what Max said about giving him one per series, almost like the unexcused absences you get built in per semester at school for each class. Like we pretty much know that 3 of them, like you're gonna wake up hungover one day, you're gonna just not feel like going to. We're gonna give you them 3. We'll give you them 3 snow days. So yeah, I'll give Embiid 3 days for the curriculum.
Ooh, they only gave you 3?
Don't tell me at Temple y'all got more.
No.
I don't know. I by the grace of God graduated, so
we got 3 of them things, and some professors held us to those 3.
I mean, it's class by class over here. I've seen more high school when you were saying, JJ. I like it though. I like the comp.
You gotta build in the 3. I know what's gonna happen.
All right, interesting. Josh, Embiid will miss blank games in these playoffs.
I got Embiid missing only 1 game in these playoffs, just because of kind of what we just talked about. I think going into the playoffs, I might have thought the same thing you did, Max, saying, okay, this team can beat the Hawks without Embiid, and now I totally feel like they can't. Like I just feel like they can't beat the Hawks without Embiid, so I think because of that, he's going to play the rest of the series, and then I can see, and I still think they're going to win. I'm going to the next series. He plays game 1 at home, rests game 2, and then you go from there, but I don't think he'll miss another game, and then I don't think they'll make the finals, so I'm only going with 1 game.
Look, let's get past the Hawks before we start talking about the series moving forward.
I'm forecasting for the question. I'm forecasting for the question.
Uh-huh.
That was our word on the street. And before we get to tap outs, I do just want to bring this up. Oscar Lindblom has just won the Masterson Trophy for the NHL. I believe that's the second one in a row. Did he win last year, Max? Do you know?
I'm not totally sure. I think he did.
Yeah, I think that's
what he did. Trophy is awarded to
the winner for perseverance and sportsmanship after overcoming his battle with cancer. So I just want to give a big shout out to Oscar there. His story is nothing short of exceptional, and we've said it multiple times, but Philadelphia, we love Oscar Lindblom here. Everybody's Oscar strong, so wanted to give that a little highlight before we get out of here. Some good news after we didn't even touch on the Phillies last night.
No, because of course they lose the one right before our show. Like they take all the momentum away right before our show.
I don't even need
3
to get
great
in.
ones, and then
I'll tell you what. Last night was the first game that had me considering robo-umps. But I digress. We'll get into tap out. So who has a good tap out for it this week?
Let me go first, man. I got something to get off my chest. I got something to get off my chest. I need it. Can I please? And this one pains me to take this 30 on this person. This one really pains me because Stephen A. Smith is my guy. You guys know that I take huge inspiration from him. Someone go check on Stephen A. Smith, please. Yeah. Someone right now go make sure that he's eating okay, that he's exercising, that he's getting enough sleep, because something's not right. Something's going on, and I don't know why. Because he's letting these statements fly that have no merit to them whatsoever, and I can't figure out where he's coming from. The first one is when he said Donovan Mitchell is the best player in Utah Jazz history.
The disrespect.
The greatest, to verbatim, the greatest player in Utah Jazz history. Now, I gave him his just due. I watched the 5-minute clip on First Take. I said, let me see how he's backing this up. Is he backing it up on just pure skill? Because he may be the most skilled dribbler of the player of basketball in Jazz history. But no, all he did was bring up his accolades and his accomplishments from the bubble and from his previous seasons. And I got a guy in John Stockton who's the all-time leader in assists. I got a guy in Karl Malone who's second all-time in points and a former MVP, and they both went to back-to-back finals. So I have no idea where that was coming from. And then today he let it fly again. He said Kevin Durant is the best player in the history of New York basketball, the mecca of basketball. Kevin Durant, who's been there for 3 some odd months, has played 12 regular season games and like 6 postseason games, is the best player in the history of New York basketball. Of any market to pick, you're going to pick the deepest one? Like the deepest one? New York basketball, Kevin Durant. So for a while, I didn't even want to I didn't want to entertain this. I don't want to even dignify these with a response. But you can only poke at me so much before I turn around and yell at you. And that Kevin Durant one was that taser in the back to the kidney that made me turn around and yell at him, stop. Because now you're annoying me, man. You got my attention now. Now you got my attention. Now I'm annoyed. So I just need someone to check on Stephen A. because I just don't know where he's coming from, man. I had to get that off.
He didn't read the script before that day, so he just had to read. He just had to read the script passionately.
ESPN ratings can't be down bad like that, my man. They can't be. They just can't be.
You never know.
Oh my goodness,
boys. Who's got a tap out? That was a good 30.
I got a quick one.
All right.
As the resident agent of sports that aren't super popular in America, this is just my friendly reminder to let everybody know that the 2020 European Championships are being aired during the day, 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., prime to get you through work. Just want to throw it out there. I know everyone loves a good daytime sports.
I watched France and who just
Germany.
went off? France and Germany. Yeah, I watched the end of that.
Yep. So nothing like some daytime sports. Giving me heavy nostalgia to a year ago when I got excited for the MLS bubble down in Orlando because they were the first American sport to come back and start playing in any capacity. So just wanted to tell everybody that if you are still not a soccer person, here is another chance for you to experience the magic of the global game, football.
Love it.
You were down bad a year ago. If you're getting nostalgia from the MLS bubble,
I am not gonna lie. I was
down bad a year
so
ago,
excited for that first game. It was I think it was 8:30, and it was in the Orlando Disney. And I remember just being like, "We're back!" Like it's been months since anything. I don't even care. This is MLS. This is like prime. Don't care about this any other time of the year, any other time in my life. But it's the only sport on. It's 8:30 in the morning. I can ignore work while I watch it. Let's
go. We're back, baby.
I love it. Josh, you got something?
I really don't. My tap out was this whole episode. It's like, honestly, like I haven't been able to think about much else in these last 24 hours. I've been frustrated.
Mr. Sports don't dictate my life, and he hasn't thought about anything else in the last 24
That's the point I was making. That sports dictated my life these last 24 hours, and it sucked. And hey, 89 days until the Eagles beat the Falcons. So there's that.
Wow, love it.
All right.
That's a whole different conversation.
I'll let that one go.
That is your hope for the NFL season is just beating the Falcons. Like,
I'm sorry. 89 days till the Eagles start their playoff run. Is that better, JJ?
Yeah,
there it
is.
The stars.
There it is.
Well, with Nick Mullins starting by week 7?
Huh?
Kidding me?
Hope not. Hope not.
My tap out. So for every I grew up an only child with a single mother for most of my life. So every Father's Appreciation game by the Phillies, it's not always on Father's Day, but every Father's Appreciation game, I take her to. So obviously this past weekend, they'll be away this upcoming weekend for Father's Day. We went. Luckily, we were able to see a drubbing of the New York Yankees.
Nice.
That's kind of the side point. This upcoming weekend's Father's Day, so. I know I'm still gonna send that dude who's my father a text saying Happy Father's Day. If you do have a father in your life, make sure you. I know Mother's Day usually gets all the press, and speaking as someone who thinks it should get more of the press than Father's Day, just for mothers, they deserve a day. Father's Day is certainly a very special day for everyone. And if you're like me and you had one person play both roles, they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Father's Day can be a second Mother's Day. Just make sure that this Sunday coming up, you honor at least one of your parents in your life, because they sure do deserve it. So that's going to do it for us here on Trust the Process Live. As always, we are brought to you by My New Philly, where something is always new and everything's always
Philly, baby.
Yes,
Big shout out to our guys over there at PHL at Sports Nation. Philly, we'll see you again next week. We got a special guest for you coming up next week. He couldn't make it tonight, but we will announce it a little bit later in the week. And hopefully,
oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
we will be reporting on something positive for the Sixers. We'll share with that news with you a little bit later in this week.
I can't imagine what y'all will look like next week if the worst.
Don't go there. Don't go there. We'll see when it happens.
It's going to be a lot less composed if composure was ever my thing. We already did we did the goodbye, so I got to tell you, you can find us wherever you get podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, wherever in between, Apple Podcasts, TTPL, Philly, Trust the Process Live. We'll see you next week, Philly. Go Sixers. Yeah, I guess.
Peace.
Somehow we made it a whole show without talking about how the Phillies are hot.